Welcome everybody. Hello, this is Thigh Company here, and welcome to today's live stream here on the Thigh Company channel. Right now it's 11:40 p.m. May the 2nd, 2025. Welcome everybody. Hope your day's good and your month of May is even better. So we have a couple things I wanted to cover on this late night live stream here on Thigh Company. So a couple of things here. Quick update. We did meet our subscriber goal on Thigh Company. We are currently on the Thigh Company channel at 13.7K subscribers. So that means we're about to get close to 15,000, or on the way rather. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and change the text number from 12,000 here to 15,000. I think that's going to be reflective of the most recent numbers here. So yeah, so good thing we did update that, because somebody reminded me of that, and I realized I haven't updated on Thigh Company on the live stream here, now that it's the month of May 2025. So for today's live stream, I did have a topic I wanted to discuss. It's about the new situation with Sped. So for those of you who may or may not know the situation or the story of what's has been going on. So Sped was for a few years now, I want to say it was probably about 3 years or so, found himself in a situation where his living circumstances were all kind of messed up, to say the least, right? And basically, to give you a little bit of a background as to what was going on, if we go back probably within the last probably 10, 15 years or so. So for those of you who may remember the story, Sped basically was here in North Carolina and then moved down to Florida because he saw it as a possible business venture, or it was an opportunity for him to be making some money down in Florida with his first son, or my half-brother. And basically that never really went anywhere, and I think I've discussed this in detail on other live streams as to the reason to this. But eventually he basically got kicked out of Florida, is one way to put it. So he got kicked out of Florida and moved to Georgia. Instead of trying to do anything to like have a family here in North Carolina. So fortunately that was his ordeal at the time, about, I would say about 12 to 15 years ago. And so sometime around maybe about 10, 11 years ago, he moved from Florida to Georgia and was living with his sister, or his aunt, or my aunt, or Sped aunt, near Atlanta, Georgia. And it wasn't in Atlanta, Georgia. It was some area that was kind of like the whole Atlanta area, basically. And he had this living situation or deal, I guess you could call it, if it even it was a deal, where he basically was living at his sister's place, paying, I don't know if I actually believe that he wasn't even paying anything at first to stay there. He basically was taking up a bedroom on somewhere in that house. And part of this deal was that he would look after his mom, which we've discussed on the channel, being Grandma Curva. And I think we made a video talking about her at some point way a long time ago. And we talked about the naming and all that, but that's for that video. But basically 2016 comes around and my dad's mom passes away. I'll be honest, I'm not even 100% sure as to the reason of why she passed away. I mean, there's different speculations as to what exactly happened, but basically, I think Sped was going a little crazy then, but there's arguments that he went crazy even before then. But basically, because there wasn't really a reason for him to be there at my aunt's place, I think she started charging him rent, which I don't even know what the rent was, but he was paying it for a few months, and then I think he was getting tired of paying it. So what he ends up doing was he meets this lady who happened to have her mom happen to be in the same like adult living or senior care center that my dad's mom was at. So my dad and this lady, they meet up, and he basically at the time convinces her, or you could say brainwashes her, to let him move in with her. And basically they start this sort of a romantic relationship where basically she permits him to move in with her because he's got to, finesse his way into some place, or he's going to be out in the streets. Um, the other thing, he could have maybe lived at my Sped Aunt's place, but who knows? So he's living at this lady's place for a couple of years. I want to say until about 2019, 2020. And for those like 2016 to 2020, those 4 years, basically he's living there, and he starts doing this process of what I call getting lazier and lazier, basically. Doing everything he can, essentially, so that he doesn't have to do any work of any sort. So what that means is that first thing he does is he decides to get rid of his car, because why should the idea is, why should you pay for, why should you have the responsibility of having a car, basically, right? So he's not going to pay for the car, no registration, no insurance, no nothing. So he basically sells the car for whatever he can get out of it. Basically, I don't know if it's a junk car or whatever. He sells it to somebody, basically. And so he's living at this lady's place, and the lady becomes his, you could say, driver, or chauffeur. Um, and on top of that, she's basically like caring for him at this point, because he not only doesn't have a car, he doesn't have any means to go around. He doesn't care about really anything. He doesn't care about money at this point, because he basically convinced her to support him. And this continues on until eventually she gets on him for basically not, cleaning up after himself, and doing things that basically regular people be doing, like, little housework, chores, and stuff like that. So what he ends up doing is convinces the lady to sell all of her personal belongings. So that means this house, her car, everything that she has or owns, and she convinces this lady to have both of them, the two of them, move into this, what they call an adult assisted living facility. And so they move in, and they're there for pretty much during COVID. And sometime around 2021, 2022, I think, maybe 23 possibly, I want to say 2022, he starts doing stuff, and I don't know if he decides if this is because he wasn't looking after his health or what exactly. But one thing basically leads to another health-wise for him. I know one point he had this the heart attack incidents that happened, which who knows what happened, what caused that. I mean, there's different things that could have caused that. But after that heart attack stuff that happened back in 2020, it kind of became evident that this affected his mind, his memory, and I think at that point he started developing like dementia and Alzheimer's. So that's kind of where you could argue the Sped name comes from. But so he's there, and pretty much the lady's continuing to support him, but the lady and them, they start having these fights. So basically, I guess I don't know if the lady got tired of him or he started acting up, but who knows really what caused the whole debacle, or dilemma. And so eventually, I think what happens is the health issues get brought up to the rest of his family. And the issues with this lady slash almost sort of like semi-wife, even though they never really married. Basically, he gets separated from this lady. He goes into a memory care division at this assisted living facility, and she goes to her division. And so basically a boundary gets put up between them. And eventually, because he's in this memory care facility, she doesn't have money to support him because he needs a higher level of care, meaning that higher level of service, therefore more expensive of care of service, essentially. And so eventually his first son starts stepping in, and I think his first son basically has supported him month after month after month for at least 2-3 years. And we're talking about the neighborhood of around $8,000 to $9,000, but I've heard figures being as high as like $15,000 for a month, or per month, basically, which is crazy. Plus, he's starting to having more of these issues. He's acting up. This is when we start talking about the videos of him calling me up in the middle of the night, talking about him seeing stuff, or him believing that he's somewhere where he's not. And we've had, live streams discussing that. So come April 2025, so last month, right? Since now it's May 2025, the discussion comes up of the topic of what to do with Sped Dad, because he basically, first son or half brother, decides that he's not going to support him anymore financially because of the financial constraint or burden. Because I mean, you can say, yeah, it's a lot of money, $8,000 to $9,000 a month. It's definitely something that I'm not in the current situation to be able to afford such a thing. So basically what ends up happening is a decision is made to move him out of this adult living facility because of their high expenses and move him to somewhere cheaper. The other issue is that he doesn't have any health insurance, meaning that everything he should have really done before the age of 65 or around the age of 65 basically was not done or taken care of or even brought to his attention, or maybe he thought about it but was lazy, who knows. So he didn't have at some time Medicare or Medicaid when really he should have had it or signed up for it. So unfortunately, the burden of him getting this free health care or free health insurance, or basically insurance to cover his living, wasn't there. So basically his brothers or my uncles had to deal with that. So eventually they got some sort of a partial approval. So one of the insurances came in and he's supposed to have at least two. So he's basically put into a rough area. Basically he has no finances. His head's not working. He don't know what's going on, basically. He's got no control over his life. So at this point, we don't know if he's completely sped or he just don't know what's going on or don't care what's going on. We don't know because, again, I haven't seen him in quite a while. And unfortunately, arranging transportation or arranging a way to meet him has become nearly impossible. And again, I haven't spoken to him since last year, 2024, so I really don't know what's going on. And so basically, end of April, he gets moved into this new facility, and I wasn't even told what the facility was, where he's being moved to, the name, where it's located, until a recent update that was brought up to my attention. And basically what happened was, the story goes is that somebody found him a house to live in. This was a house that apparently the state of Georgia was providing some sort of money towards for him to live in, which also specialized in dementia/Alzheimer's care or memory care issues. Which was like, I want to say late, basically this is occurring all late April 2025. And he basically, I don't know if he was informed or not, but basically is taken out of the assisted living. And I think two of my uncles, they picked him up and they moved him to this house. Everything seemed to be okay and fine. They dropped him off to this house, and what they found out was this house was basically a small house where 5 other men were living in. I don't know who these men were. I don't know if these are patients or what it is exactly. So he's left in this house, and my uncles drive off. An hour after they drive off, they get a phone call from the landlord or basically a homeowner of this house that my Sped Dad moved into now. Apparently, as soon as they left, he started acting up. He started fighting people, he started punching people, hitting people, and on top of that, he started going completely insane. He was apparently peeing on furniture, peeing on people, and acting, worse than an animal, essentially. And that's the report that my uncles basically were given. They didn't know what to do at that point. So after a lot of discussion, what the decision was made was to put him into, basically admit him into a hospital. We don't even know which hospital or what hospital. And apparently he's been staying at this hospital for ever since he got kicked out of this place. So I don't know what that means. That means that he may be in this like emergency room or the hospital. Apparently he was in the emergency room for over a week. How on earth that happens, I have no idea. I've never heard of somebody staying in the ER for over a week. Which I don't know, like, that to me sounds insane. But anyway, the hospital, apparently, whatever hospital this is that took him in, they moved him into a bed. So they admitted him into the hospital as an actual patient. And from there, the next step is they're trying to get a hold of two different states. They're trying to get a hold of, I think, Georgia and I believe North Carolina, where originally, he was living and working before he moved to Florida. And basically, I think Georgia did their part. I don't know if North Carolina did or not. I'm going to give benefit of the doubt that things are probably just in process, and since I haven't been informed, I guess nothing new has happened. But the fact that, it's gotten to this point where basically he got kicked out of, well, you could say kicked out of one place because he doesn't have any money or finances to cover the cost of living. And you could argue that insurance should have helped him out, but he never, signed up for the insurance to begin with. And in the second place, who knows? I mean, why? It may have been an issue where he just forgot what was going on. Maybe somebody didn't give him his meds. Who knows? Because the fact and reality is that nobody seems to know. And the problem is, I mean, I just find it kind of sad, really, that no one even knows what hospital he's in and what the status is, what's the project, So basically, he's kind of in limbo until he becomes what's called, I think at this point, he's going to become what's called a ward of the state, meaning that the state, in this case, I think the state of Georgia, will basically be taking care of him, meaning that whatever this state will provide plus federal government will go towards him, and basically we'll see what happens from there. We think, me and my uncles, we think that probably what's going to happen is the hospital will eventually find some place for him to move into. Basically, he's going to be discharged from the hospital, and then he becomes a resident of some mental facility at this point. When that's going to happen, we don't know. We don't even have any further details, which is, sad and crazy. Some people say it's the fault of the U.S. healthcare system, but I don't even know if that's even something that is involved in this or not. I don't know. But just the problem is, we don't know what's going on until something happens. So yeah, guys, just pretty much wanted to give you an update of the Sped dad moving incident, where he basically flipped out at this person's house, which I don't even know what house he was in. Nobody seems to know. So yeah, fortunately, that's what happened. But alright, guys, I pretty much wanted to give you an update there. But yeah, for those of you who are watching the live stream, if you have not already, we do ask for you to please subscribe to Thigh Company. Please also subscribe to Thigh Company Gaming as well. Certainly, we do appreciate each and every one of you who does subscribe to the channel. And also hit the bell icon so you do get notifications for future videos, future live streams, gameplay, updates on the channel, and things of that nature. Also give this video a like, thumbs up. And also comment down below, guys. What do you think about this crazy situation? What would you do if you were in this given situation, or maybe you know somebody who's in a similar situation, let us know down in chat. Otherwise, guys, Thigh Company here.